Hey there guys, I'm out on a hike into one of my favorite fall trout fisheries, but this video isn't about trout fishing. In fact, the video I'll get today for this trout fishing will be part of my trout week coming up towards the end of October, where I'm going to have 5 full videos in 1 week on different trout fisheries in Washington State. But today is actually a little bit more of a serious discussion. I think some of you noticed, and anybody who's followed my channel for a while, that Sidra's been absent from a lot of my videos, increasingly, especially over the last year. And what happened is, about 2 years ago, she started experiencing some bouts of pain, and we started trying to work through all these rural doctors, most of which are wholly unqualified, to get a diagnosis of what was going on. And we were fighting doctors and insurance. What we really wanted to do is get an MRI on her torso, lower abdomen, back, where all the pain was originating. And just insurance companies in this country are just absolutely crazy. They will do everything in their power to not authorize an MRI. But while we were working through all the hoops to get to that, her symptoms progressed and got worse, and she started having other problems, and eventually we got the MRI and got settled on the right diagnosis. And after working through a few doctors and specialists, we finally found a really good team at Swedish Medical in Seattle who specialized in her disease, and started working towards a proper diagnosis and treatment. And that has been a really challenging experience. Not only, I think, I went through a very rough patch after I was almost killed by pneumonia and subsequent septicemia, where I had a blood infection that knocked me back for about 3 months and really killed the production on my channel, just as I was focused on my health. And I thought, just being unhealthy, being sick is just one of the worst things in the world. But now I know that actually the worst thing in the world is to watch someone you love struggling with illness. And she's a very outdoorsy person who loves to hike and hunt. Hunting is like really important to her. And I knew last year she was really in trouble because she decided not to hunt because the pain of drawing a bow, even sitting for too long, was just too much for her. So she opted out, and it just led through all these challenges, watching her struggle with just being able to walk and stand and just do basic human functions. Even sometimes couldn't even eat. But fortunately, with that team at Swedish, we were able to start getting some treatment to help control her pain. And we were able to go down to San Diego this past year, and she had a really good month there, and with relatively little pain. And we were able to enjoy some time on the water together and just doing things outdoors. And we kept tinkering with her treatments to help alleviate her pain and reduce the spread of this disease. And over this past summer, we were able to do a few things together, and then she was able to hunt. She set aside 1 day this year to hunt, because, to be honest, like, sitting in a blind was just really challenging for her. So she's like, well, I'll hunt 1 day. And she got so fortunate that the 1 day that she hunted, this beautiful doe mule deer just walked up and gave her the perfect shot, quartering away at like 10 yards. So, but it's just kind of cool how like nature gave her that, But yeah, so we are headed into a really critical period, and what's going to happen in the next few weeks is we're going to go in through surgeries, and then we've got physical therapy and all of that stuff to struggle through. So, but the hope is that she's going to come out better and less with less pain, and we can start heading back on a trajectory towards a normal life. At least that's the hope. We always have to hope that. With any surgery, there's really no guaranteed outcomes. So I might be absent, depending on outcomes, from my channel for a while. I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff filmed prior to, so that there's like a constant stream of content, but ultimately I just need to focus on her. And you know, there's quite literally no handbook out there, and I'm surprisingly very little information or literature on what it's like to be a caretaker and what's the role of a person as a caretaker. There's a lot of books and articles written from the woman's perspective, taking care of their husband with failing health, but there's actually remarkably few from a male's perspective. In fact, a lot of the literature tends to focus on the fact that a lot of men walk away from their long-term relationships when women deal with chronic illness. In fact, it's such a common thing that women are even counseled on it when they're diagnosed with severe disease. And so I found myself kind of like struggling with, you know, trying to do everything I could to make Sidra's life comfortable and better, and keep her healthy, while doing the same for me, both at the physical level and mental level. And you know, one of the things that I've read is that men tend to be very solution oriented, especially when it comes to things like caretaking, and they tend to try to, instead of trying to be like more understanding and listeners and just trying to empathize, men tend to try to find solutions. And I tend to fall in that category. It's like, what can I do to make things better for her, for us, and potentially for our future? And so, you know, I've been thankful that I have the flexibility with being a content creator. I've been able to set aside time to you know, spend more time making dinners and cleaning and taking care of the things that, everyday things that she just simply doesn't have the energy to do, because she comes home from work and she's extremely fatigued, and her body needs that 9 to 10 hours of sleep. And if that's what it needs, then I have to find a way to make that happen for her, so she doesn't feel pressured to stay up and push herself. And so, you know, I've been really grateful that I've had that flexibility. And even when I've gone away on trips, before I go away on like month-long trips, like the Cooking Across America, I've pre-cooked like, you know, 10 or 15 meals for her, so that she can just come home, thaw the meals out, and have food ready for her, healthy food that's good to go. So I am still really nervous but excited for the outcomes of the upcoming weeks, because I'm just not sure what's going to happen. But I feel like we're moving forwards, right? Because we've got to get this surgery done, and then start the physical therapy and the treatments, and just see what happens. My hope is that I'll be able to restore some sense of normalcy to her physical capabilities, and then that opens up lots of opportunities for 2023, and hopefully doing some of the things we love to do together, which is traveling. But, you know, dealing with all of that stress of her illness, and then there was a lot going on in the world the past couple of years with the pandemic and political instability here in the United States, and, you know, the struggles to maintain peace in Europe, and all of these things going on. And it just was a really tough time for me, for a lot of people. Seemed like there was a lot of death. Our household was touched by suicide, and it just felt like we were just getting rocked back and forth, you know, just one punch or body blow after another. It's like, when is this going to stop? And I think, like a lot of people, when I stress, and especially for things beyond my control, I tend to eat a lot, overeat to compensate. I mean, I love food and it makes me feel good, so I would eat a lot. I tend to drink more as well. And you know, by the time spring of 2022 came around, I was up near 190 pounds and just feeling really unhealthy. And I decided I needed to do something about that. And it was not only, it was part of the sort of solution of not just helping me, but helping Sidra and I, because if I could get in shape then and be healthy, then I could be stronger to support her. You know, if we wanted to go on a hike and she couldn't carry a backpack, I could take all her weight, you know. Like every pound I could lose would be another pound I could carry for her. And so in May, I decided, you know, and I looked at myself in the mirror, I was just like, this is not the person I want to be. This is not who I promised to be in terms of health to Sidra when we got married. I wrote our own vows when we got married, and I included in there that we would take care of ourselves in those vows and try and not be a burden on the other person. And I decided I really wanted to lose weight. I'd been in that place before, coming out of grad school, which was very stressful. And that's when I reconnected with fishing. In fact, I'll throw a photo up here of the very first spring Chinook I caught at the mouth of the Wind River. And you can see how pudgy I am. And that fish was a catalyst of change for me, because I had kind of walked away from fishing, focusing on my academic studies. And suddenly I just realized how much I loved being outdoors, catching fish, catching my own food. And that Spring King was the beginning of everything, from you know, the start of this channel to just a new lifestyle. And a really powerful moment for me, you know, because I'd been in the Northwest just working my butt off in the lab for 5 years, and I hadn't really experienced it. And I think a rite of passage for anybody who lives here is just to catch a king salmon, and that was a really cool experience. One that forever changed me and changed the course of my life. And so, you know, I was in that same place this past spring, and so I started cutting back on the alcohol. I started exercising a little bit, doing some light running, and you know, I was losing a few pounds a month, but I really wasn't getting where I wanted to be. And by the time end of July rolled around, I'd only lost 8 or 9 pounds, and I just wasn't where I needed to be, and I wasn't making the progress I wanted. So I doubled down. You know, I'm a statistician at heart, and I just started looking at it as a numbers problem, as calories in, calories burned, calories out, and started exploring some of these different ideas in terms of weight loss. And there's so many diets and fads, and I'm not about that, because I wanted something that's sustainable, that I can maintain use of all of my garden vegetables and the huge quantities of meat I have stored in my freezer and canner. And these, you know, keto and fiber fads and all this stuff, just, it wasn't for me. I wanted to have a balanced, normal diet. And it really just came down to reducing my caloric intake, using this thing called the zigzag approach, which is essentially throttling way back to like 1,800 calories for 5 days a week, which I consider my zigs. And then I would zag back up to like higher, you know, 2,000, 2,200 calories a week, with the goal of creating a deficit over the week, but not starving myself to the point that I would just go get stupid and get a bunch of heavy cravings and eat too much food and then gain all my weight back. And additionally, I started looking at fasting, which I took a 16-hour fast approach. So 5 days a week, I just don't eat for 16 hours. And then for 8 hours of the day, I do eat. And so I typically eat like from 11 to 7, and I just eat that calorie allotment that I have. But those extended periods of not eating have really helped me lose weight. And I just the weight started coming off really fast, and I started pushing my aerobic exercises up a little bit, throttled that up. My family's got a lot of really poor heart history, so it just made sense that I focused on my aerobic side. And yeah, the weight just started pouring off, and by early September I was 20 pounds down. By early October I was 30, and I'm getting really close to my goal of being in that sort of mid 150s, which would be about 35 pounds loss. And it feels really good. I feel really healthy, I feel stronger, and I feel healthier and happier physically. And I've also had tons of other benefits from this. I always struggled with acid reflux when I was overweight, and that's completely gone. And I just feel better overall. I will say it's not all been peachy keen. Like part of the fasting issue is it's quite common to get insomnia, which I've been struggling with a little bit, just being hungry while you're sleeping. But I'm coming fast approaching that time where I've got to figure out how am I going to maintain my health after I reach my goal, and that'll be another challenge and struggle, but I'm looking forward to it. But the main thing I wanted to, I guess the main reason I wanted to bring this up is that I know a lot of other people, when I've posted about this on my other social media feeds, have talked about their struggles with weight and with health, and it's not easy. I think there's all these diet fads, and there's all these people pushing weight loss and talking about it like it's easy, and it's not. It takes commitment, and you've got to find that motivation. And for me, just like self-health wasn't enough. Like I don't get a high after a 5-mile run. I don't feel like $1 million. I feel like eating 12 cheeseburgers after a 5-mile run. That's really what I want to do, or smashing a giant bowl of Cheerios pretty much any time of the day. But my inspiration was that is for Sidra, is for us. I think about that every time I want to give up, that I don't want to exercise that day. Every time I just want to, I look in there and there's a big Hershey's bar just sitting right in front of me, and I still allow myself those things every now and then, because you only live once, right? But the point is that I use her, and I use my love for her and for us and our future as inspiration to hesitate to eat that snack or to not exercise that day. So anyways, I think one of the best ways to catch more fish is to live a long and healthy life. And I hope that what I'm talking about today connects with you in some way, or if you're struggling with your own health or taking care of somebody else whose health is failing, or if you're thinking about getting back in shape or trying to do something to make your health a little bit better. I really encourage you to do it. I want you to know there's other people out there like you who are struggling, and yeah, we should be there for each other. So tell me your story below. I'd love to hear it in the comments section. Sometimes it's good just to talk about it. So anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye guys.